I have a box.
And me. I'm here this week, and Ryan is gone.
This box comes to us all the way from Germany.
Oh, this is from Dustin. I won't say his last name because he probably wants a little bit of privacy.
In Berlin.
But yeah, he messaged us on Patreon and was like, hey, I have a box.
We had a team working in Berlin for a long time. A very long time. That was before the economic collapse.
Are they not around anymore?
No.
Oh, that's sad. The code they produced was much better than some of the other firms we worked with. But anyway.
Germany has a very good eye for precision, so.
Yeah, so he sent us a long list of what everything is, because, we don't know. I'll have to try and find what that is. So that's a box of cookies. What's it called?
Hanuta.
Similar to Knoppers, but these are from the Italian company that makes Ferrero Rocher.
Ooh, these did not hold up well in the
Are
trip.
They shapes?
It's all of the weight is very unevenly distributed to the bottom. This much of the bag. Christopher
Ungarish potato chips, paprika dusted potato chips, fairly popular here in Berlin.
Here's 8 Knoppers.
Ooh.
That seems like a Christmas snack.
These are some of these brands I recognize from going to the German store with my Oma, but not all of them.
There's Haribo in here.
I didn't see. Are they sugar free? Had you include a pack of them from Germany? I wonder if they taste different. Probably not. He sent us a Fanta. I don't know how you actually pronounce it. It's a word I read. And he said that it's different in Europe. It's a different flavor. So you've got multiple orange sodas in there.
I'm gonna wait until these are cold.
There's it says Clubmate, but he says it's pronounced Club Mate. I might be getting baited on that. It's not an orange soda, fizzy caffeinated tea.
I've heard Mate, yes. That might not be.
I might not be getting baited. Orangina. So this one isn't German. It's from Spain, but it's orange, so I picked it up. Spezi. This is a unique German drink. I've heard of Spezi. I've never had one. Orange Fritz Limo. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here. Look how he packaged it up so it wouldn't break.
It's literally the guy from the SNL skit Sprockets on the label.
Oh. I like the minimal style there. That doesn't fly in the US. You don't see minimal labels very often.
Well, now we dance.
I think that's changing in the design sector, but you still, mostly packaging design is insane. But yes, thank you so much for all of this. We will sample all of it. Wendell will probably sample some soda very shortly.
Oh no, I hit the mic, I'm sorry. And in other news, today is July 6th, is that right?
I think so. It's after the holiday weekend for those of you in the US.
Oh yeah, it's July 6th. That's a lot of fun. And it's also brought to you by Linode in addition to the orange soda. This is really awesome, so thank you. We'll get to enjoy that through the rest of the week. Linode, we got a coupon below. You should check it out. We did Devember and tutorials. You can level up. There's all kinds of really cool stuff. Linode lets you get Linux virtual machines to host your stuff. You can get out of the cloud. Are you addicted to Google and Google Drive? And you can DIY that in a reasonably safe way so that they're not mining your data. Because all the news this week is about mining your data.
It's bad news. Well, there was one good story in this batch. Are we doing business first?
No, it's government.
Government. Okay. I think there was one good story in here.
It's government and social. Yeah. And then it's business and security, because business and security go together this week like peas and carrots. So, yeah, I don't know. On with the news. New UK internet law raises free speech concerns, says civil liberties campaigners.
I read this, and the gist of it that I got from it was basically there's just going to be one person who's responsible for determining if it meets government guidelines.
Yeah, and one of the problems here is is this independent oversight if they're employed by the government and the watchdog? This is not a real watchdog. And
it's one person. Isn't that kind of risky in itself?
Well, the one person has decided that what's some meme is horribly offensive. Just pick a random meme. I don't know.
The Spider-Man meme where they point at each other? And
yeah, that's offensive. That's no longer allowed.
No longer.
What sensibilities is that offended? It's doesn't matter. One person.
Well, yeah, and it would change every time that position gets refilled, and it's weird.
Seems like that would be a mess.
Yeah.
Perhaps our UK viewers can let us know.
Maybe it's not as bad as it sounded in that article, but I was that sounds pretty bad.
Seems pretty bad, yeah. DoubleVPN servers, logs, and account info has been seized by law enforcement. So this was a VPN provider that was frequented by criminals, and they made the mistake of marketing their service as such.
And it's gone now.
It's gone.
I always love the takedown websites because it's literally like the most generic thing you can imagine. You
I love
can't
it
read
how
the text and
there's a little bit of a double standard here because like, oh, you've made a slight mistake in how you're marketing your stuff for criminals, but at the same time, it's like, okay, are you doing anything untoward, government? Or should we have like watchdogs investigating stuff? Let's do this freedom of information request stuff and see if you're using, oppressive tools to like spy on your own citizens. They're like, no, we would never do that, and if we did, it would be a completely innocent mistake.
we would never.
Never. Oh wait, government watchdog may have missed Clearview AI use by 5 federal agencies in a new report. So remember, Clearview, it's technically a commercial tool, not the government, but it hoovers up all kinds of face recognition data. And it turns out the Department of Homeland Security and a bunch of others were using that. There's literally a government watchdog that was like, no, we're not using these services. That would be unsettling for our citizenry. Oh wait, same kind of standard as like the VPN service. Like, oh, criminals were using our service. Whoops.
And is anything going to get done by this? No.
No.
This is good news. This was the one like piece of good news that I remembered from this section.
Are we gonna have to pass a law that is like, this company is required to report all of the government contracts that it has through freedom of information requests? Like, you, instead of requesting all of the different pieces of government, doing a freedom of information request, you can do a freedom of information request to a private entity that is dealing with the government, and then they have to disclose all of their dealings with the government. That seems like that would be reasonable. Maybe we should get that changed.
Until the government starts paying that private entity, and then suddenly it's like, well, now we're a government contractor. And
yeah. Well, Maine has passed the strongest facial recognition ban yet. And so what they were saying in Maine was like, wait a minute, it seems like the state police in Maine are doing an end run around the law by going to federal agencies. That seems weird. So this is an aim to put a stop to that.
Maine seems like it has its shit together overall. I mean, I don't know. Some of our viewers from Maine are like, no, it's horrible here, but like they seem pretty reasonable overall.
I was like, can we get a face recognition search on the down low? Yeah, sure. No, all of that has to be disclosed and recorded now. So you can't just, do a cooperative thing with it, I guess.
Which, I mean, how long will it be before it's like, wow, they put in like thousands and thousands of requests over the course of a month. And then will we do anything then? I guess.
That's coming later in the show. If I'd had a good sort, there's a sort where it's like, oh, everything's on the rise. That might be in the business section. We'll wait for that. Ryan's not here because his basement flooded, so.
Yeah, we had 5 inches of rain in one day. So it's a little.
His basement explode.
And his computer, rip in peace.
Not great. The Biden administration has barred imports of solar panels linked to forced labor in China's Xinjiang region.
This is also it's not really a feel-good story. It's like...
It's not at all.
Oh, at least that's not happening as much, but it's probably there's still a lot of stuff that gets produced there that we're still buying.
So iPhones win?
Yeah.
I think Biden called up Tim Cook and was like, look, I've got to put you on the ban. It's coming. And he's like, you wouldn't. And it's like, well, we're already banning solar panels. And it's like, oh, I need to have my iPhones produced in the Philippines. My
understanding of it, and it might have been wrong, was that it wasn't all solar panels. It was just like some made by a certain company, but like...
Yes.
Realistically, I'm sure a lot of them come through that region, so... There
definitely does seem to be a lot of like labor laundering to try to make it seem as though like company X, subsidiary Y, contractor Z, subcontractor X is the one that's doing it. And so by the time you get to, 3 levels of removal, it's like, oh, no, we didn't know that our subcontractor was doing that.
That's I've been trying to find clothing that's like, not made by slaves, and they do that same thing. You have to audit the whole supply chain, and a lot of companies just don't do that.
Yeah, a lot of the supply chain auditing is also like, we're going to produce the raw materials and store them in a warehouse for 6 months, and the slave labor that produced the original stuff is long gone.
Yeah, no record of it.
Yeah, it's like, how do you even... It's like, oh, this was abandoned property in a warehouse. It's like, yeah, but this just happened to be the same thing that your industry is in, and it's like... We've gotten really good at laundering those kinds of things as a species, and it's deeply disconcerting.
Sad.
Yeah. This was the article I was looking for. Microsoft exec says that the law enforcement and government is targeting Americans' records in a routine way.
It's a horrible headline.
So it turns out, and we've said this before on this program, that the law is currently basically such that if your stuff is in the cloud, that you can request, as law enforcement, you can request business records. It's like, has Krista done business with Microsoft? Oh, she has, in the form of storing all of her stuff in the cloud. You can get that data with a much lower standard of requirement than a standard issue warrant. So like, if you need to get a warrant to go search your house, your evidence has to meet a much higher standard than business records at Microsoft. And so Microsoft is saying, we're champions of free speech and, not warrantless surveillance. And yet,
Yeah, the guy was like, we try to fight these a lot, but we get a lot of requests. Like, a lot. You guys don't even know how many we get.
Yeah. And so this, we had the report a couple of weeks ago about, the Department of Justice investigating the journalists that were giving Trump a hard time. And it was just like...
Is that really the best use of our time now?
Yeah, I don't. And it's like, well, let's get some records and let's keep digging and see who they're connected to and see who they're sharing documents with. This
and
is
I
the
thought
kind
I
of
was
stuff
a creep.
Yeah, I mean, it's just. But these are business records. These are not people's quote unquote personal information. It's business records. We also had that Supreme Court ruling. It was 5-4. That was basically Equifax gets away with everything. So.
I thought Equifax, you got paid like $20 for losing all your information.
And we're not the only ones to point this kind of thing out. Google and Microsoft have ended their 5-year ceasefire. And so the 5-year ceasefire is like, I didn't realize that we've always been at war with. This is actually lobbying dollars. So their lobbyists have, I don't know, I guess you would say that they've been frenemies for the last 5 or 6 years. It's like Google and Microsoft interests have kind of aligned as far as lawmaking goes. They both have a lot of platforms. They both have a lot of user-generated data that they would like the minimum amount of legal protection on. But the first salvo is from Microsoft rather than Google, and it just says, hey, we've been trying to play this online advertising game, and you basically have to go through Google, and we don't like that.
They were like, we have certain features in Bing that Google doesn't play nicely with, and it's like, does anyone use Bing? Like, just let it fail.
DuckDuckGo. Well, if DuckDuckGo continues to gain in popularity, we've got a story about that, then probably Microsoft will just sort of very quietly buy them, I would say.
Oh, that sucks. Please don't put that curse on them. They probably will be bought.
Yeah. The article, this part of it really sums it up. It's like, protestations about free speech aside, Microsoft may also be trying to exploit Google's heightened vulnerability to antitrust regulation around the globe. So Microsoft's just trying to drive a wedge in there, which is fine, probably. The other thing that's a big deal in terms of a global situation is like tax dodging stuff. So 130 nations agree to support U.S. proposal for a global minimum tax on corporations. They haven't said what the minimum is. I figured it was like 5%, but they say it's 15%. So I don't know.
How are they going to enforce that? Because they don't really enforce it now.
U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen speaks during a news conference after attending the G7 finance blah, blah, blah. Basically, that's the idea behind a minimum tax is like no matter how many tax write-offs you have and no matter how much you have, if your global revenues are $1 billion, you will pay at least 15% or whatever the global minimum is on that tax. Doesn't matter if you're in Ireland or the U.S. Like, it doesn't give you any incentive to move your corporate headquarters. It's like this is, the idea here is that this produces a level playing field. Now, of course, there's 1,000,001 loopholes, and we could have an hour-long conversation about all of the stuff that goes into this. But it does seem like that with 130 countries signed on board, they're sort of saying, well, if all of us get a little piece of the revenue, that's better than almost all of us getting no piece of the revenue.
Are you saying that the people are all gathering together and sort of unionizing to bargain with the corporations?
The countries, yeah. It's like we have no power.
But we have power together.
Yeah, that's just, I don't know. This story is my favorite story of today. It's from Reuters. Huawei CFO says that HSBC emails disprove the basis for the U.S. extradition claim. There's a lot to unpack in that headline. Basically, the deal here is that the U.S. brought up one of the executives in Huawei, Ming, and on charges of dealing with Iran. It's like you were selling stuff to Iran, and it wasn't technically Huawei. It was a company called Skycom, and this is not a super atypical way to do business when you want to do business with a country that you're forbidden to do business with, like Iran. Like, in the State Department or in the U.S., we've got a lot of problem with ransomware now. And if the ransomware gang hails from Iran, the State Department will actually track you down and be like, you paid a ransom to a gang that was in Iran. You shouldn't have done that. Because, even if they've ransomed your stuff, you're not supposed to pay the ransomware gang. Whereas otherwise, the FBI might be like, just pay the ransom and get your stuff back. It's totally okay. So HSBC is involved here. And the emails that came out do make it seem like the executives at HSBC knew that criminal activity was going on and didn't care, which doesn't completely exonerate Huawei, but at the same time, we've seen this kind of thing from HSBC before. Remember the whole drug money laundering thing? They were like, oh yeah, we'll just set up a special thing in the lobby so that your duffel bags of cash can be accepted by the tellers, because previously getting a duffel bag of cash through the little teller window, like the cutout.
It was inconvenient.
It wasn't large enough, and so they had to make some modifications. And it's like, do you really expect us to believe the executives didn't know that drug cash was coming in? And so this is kind of like that with Huawei.
The gist of it in the article that I got was basically like, we're going to try to pin this on our junior employees,
so
that way we don't get in trouble. And I was like, oh, that's kind of scummy.
Because, HSBC would be afoul of, dealing with Iran, which,
right.
Again, has very, very serious implications. And Huawei's rightly pointing out, it's like, why are you attacking us when HSBC is at least as guilty as we are? So
just spread the blame around.
Yeah.
Also, you should try that and tell us. It says it's an immunity aid. Which one was that?
Delicious. This is actually from last week because it was cold. So
I was about to look at the paper.
Carbonated water, certified raw organic blue agave nectar.
Oh, okay. That's
natural flavors of citric acid. Yeah. So this is a 1 can serving size with 40 calories per can. And 1,000% vitamin C, and 167% vitamin A. Not bad.
Is it like a soda then? Because if it's got the agave, it's probably sweeter, right?
It tastes like liquid Flintstones vitamins.
I don't know about that. I sort of associate Flintstone vitamin with like that chalky texture and like imagining that in a drink.
A little bit of that. Yeah. A little bit of that chalkiness.
What's the letter rating?
Oh, this is probably a B. B minus, maybe. Could use a little more sugar. Not bad, though. The Wall Street Journal. Amazon seeks recusal at FTC Chairwoman Lina Khan in antitrust investigations of company. Is she being recused because she worked for Amazon or has a special interest in Amazon? No. It's because she's publicly criticized Amazon before taking office.
That seems like...
If we ever go into public office, we would have to be recused from everything because we've criticized literally
every tech company, yeah.
It's like, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I wasn't allowed to have any kind of an opinion.
Well, yeah, and it's like, how scathing was her criticism? Was it just like, I don't really like how Amazon operates? And it's like, nope, you can't be anywhere near them.
You don't understand what we're doing to revolutionize and modernize the American economy, so you've clearly got a bias.
We got some good stories about that later, too.
Speaking of people that are biased and don't understand how the economy is being revolutionized, the Ohio GOP ends an attempt to ban municipal broadband after protests from residents. This headline is frustrating because they did actually succeed in chipping away. So there are successful municipal broadband deployments in Ohio that came about after people got blind angry with the incumbents in their area. And they're like, all right, you won't run networking at a reasonable price to all of our houses. We'll DIY it. That's what happened in Ohio. And so this was basically to just say, oh, if you're going to do that at a municipal level, that's no longer allowed. And a lot of people were like, they're trying to come back and like the incumbents are trying to come back and do away with the municipal broadband that we've deployed. Oh, hell no. And so they lost their minds. And it was successful. But here's the bad thing. The municipal ISPs are not eligible to apply for state funds to expand their networks and improve their service.
Oh, I missed that.
Only private controlled, yeah. So that part passed. So if you have a private entity that, like, the success of a municipal broadband demonstrates criminal negligence on the part of the incumbent that had been there, because they're like, we can't, afford to provide service here. And it's like, by its very definition, the municipal service has been able to provide service where they haven't because the profits have been captured and not reinvested in infrastructure development. Whereas with the municipal provider, they have reinvested and they're operating, not at a loss, and they're providing service. Ergo, somewhere there's a grift. You're being stolen from. It's misleading, whatever. So the municipal companies are in a better position. The private companies have been mismanaged, and the fix is to give them more money to mismanage it. That's never really worked since the 90s. Why do they expect a different result now?
Because they don't care. So I guess there was like it wasn't letter writing, because no one writes letters anymore. It was an email campaign, and that's what made them say, oh, it's okay now. But it was I think it was 750 emails they got about people were like, no, don't take my internet away.
Yeah.
And I bet the reason they did that is because it's those people won't care if other people get internet.
Yeah.
Because they've already got theirs.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they may be right.
Yeah. Cities build networks when ISPs don't bother. That is exactly right. ISPs have already been paid. All the national broadband providers that we have here in America have already been paid in the form of U.S. tax dollars, grants, and subsidies to the tune of $500 billion over the last 20 years to build out a nationwide fiber optic network. Largely that hasn't happened. And I think that's criminal. But moving right along.
You get so salty anytime that gets brought up. I don't blame you, because it makes it really hard to find anywhere to live, because it's the first priority is, does this have internet?
Yeah, it's like electricity, and it's why are we even arguing about? I don't know if we really need electricity. Electricity's
you need internet
or
now.
indoor plumbing or any. It's we don't. I don't know if we need running water. The outhouse is fine. It's it's not like these industries aren't profitable enough to do that. I mean, come on. The guys from Adelphia, you really want to get angry? Read about the fall of Adelphia. Those guys just, it's so bad.
You have to take a hate nap after this.
Yeah, it's just so bad. And finally, no, we've got a few more stories, actually. There's
actually quite a few. This is a long section. We were lying. The tabs that betrayed us.
U.S. agency orders automated vehicle makers to report crashes. So the headline should have been U.S. agency orders Tesla vehicle to makers to report crashes. It applies to everybody, but mostly this is aimed at Tesla.
There was 33, and then 25 of them were Tesla.
Yeah.
And of the 25 that were Tesla, 10 of them were fatal.
Well, you get the impression from this that the National Highway Traffic Safety people have asked, hey, how many other Teslas were involved in collisions? And the number is quite a bit higher. But for some reason, it just doesn't get reported in kind of a global way. And so now they've sort of realized, hey, Teslas have all this wonderful telemetry in them. We need that. Yeah. Which is good.
I got to ride in a Tesla recently.
How was that?
It was okay. I kind of get the hype a little bit, but also they're super expensive. And just Elon Musk. I don't really want to support him.
There's the Musk of Elon in the cab.
Yeah. I was pleasantly surprised about how responsive the screen was. I still don't think it's great in terms of when you're driving, because it's you don't have that feedback of touch with knobs and things like that. But
maybe they could go for gestures on the screen. You don't have to look at it, but you draw an S for high beams or something.
I don't know. It's just like an iPad. So it was responsive as an iPad, which was nicer than most touchscreens I've seen in a car. But it was just this doesn't seem like this would be great while you're driving somewhere.
Let me cast the spell for hazard lights.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Ryan added this article, I think, and I don't know. Nikkei Asia reports that China's cyber power is at least a decade behind the U.S., as study finds.
Source? That was kind of they had 3 tiers. This guy, I can't remember the name of the dude who was putting together a report, but it was U.S. was in a top tier number 1 by itself, and then underneath that it was China, Russia, and a couple other countries. And then there was tier 3, which was everybody else.
It said that China wasn't really good at collecting and amassing data and then performing actionable intelligence on that data. But then I look around and it's we got the pipeline hijacking and some of the elections nonsense and some of the other stuff, and it's
the social credit score.
Doesn't seem like we have a lot of good track record here either.
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't really understand the confidence with what they're 10 years behind us. I'm that doesn't. And even if they are, Shouldn't we, like, maybe we should just try to scare our officials a little bit and be like, no, like, they're going to get us next year. We got to really invest in this.
Look at the ransomware that's all around us. Our basic security is, like, our internet security is about where, like, the knob and tube electrical grid was, you know, at the beginning of time. The technology is just hilariously inadequate. Sad.
Yeah, I thought that whole report seemed a little weird, but...
Yeah. You know what else seems weird? Kids eating AirTags. The Verge reports that an Australian regulator says that Apple's AirTag batteries are too easy for kids to access, and they might eat them.
If your kid is young enough for that to be a concern, like, surely you wouldn't have them... Like, you wouldn't need to have a tag on them anyway, right? Like, I would think you would only tag children who are older, who have some level of autonomy to wander around by themselves.
Don't eat the AirTag?
Yeah, but like, does your teenager need that message? But apparently...
In Australia, yes.
Yeah.
You'd think that would have, you know, because everything in Australia is trying to kill you, that would have, you know, disappeared by now. Like, people would know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Weird. Wall Street Journal reports that the Binance crypto exchange has been ordered to cease UK activities. That's the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange. Has faced regulatory ire in the UK as well as Japan. So they want them to stop in the UK until they can comply with regulations. And it's indeterminate as to when that will be. A lot of places pick this up to try to, like, drive down the price of crypto. I don't know. The Wall Street Journal reporting on this is really interesting. It's definitely colored by the oldness of the Wall Street Journal, I think. But it also requires a subscription, so, you know, because of that. Meanwhile, El Salvador is giving away free Bitcoin to its citizens.
But, like, not a whole Bitcoin.
No.
Just a very small amount, like $30 worth of Bitcoin.
It's going to promote the use of their app.
And my favorite part of this article is at the end, he's like, there's nothing to lose here. Nothing can go bad. And I'm like, is that true?
It seems like it's what China did. You remember China came up with their own thing, and then they were like, we're going to give everybody $25 or whatever just to get people to use it. It seems like that.
I don't know. It seems weird, but
yeah,
maybe it'll be okay.
If it gets everybody using the thing, it'll be like here. It's like, instead of giving people their stimulus check in the form of a check, it's like you got to install an app and do it that way. Probably a lot of people would have done it. Notes from Poland says that high school students have been convicted of insulting Polish president.
I thought this was going to be in the nonsense section. But no, this is just government.
That's a crime there, apparently. And they were facing 3 years in prison, potentially, but instead got 2 months of community service.
What's dumb about it was, like, they just made a sign that was like, screw the name of the guy.
Yeah, that.
But it was in Polish, obviously. And they got penalized for that. They were talking about some other instances where, like, a woman called him an idiot or something online, and she got, I think, like, a year or something. I was like, oh.
American politicians really, 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 really want these kinds of laws here. Like,
how thin-skinned do you have to be like, someone called me an idiot, and I'm going to get really salty about it and put those people in prison?
Yeah. Not good.
We get called idiots every week in the YouTube
It's because we
comments.
are.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. We can't fly too close to the sun. Our wings will melt. This is disappointing, too. CNBC reports that a judge has dismissed the FTC and state antitrust complaints against Facebook. The judge said, you haven't proven that Facebook is the dominant social media platform.
I mean, I guess there's Twitter? I guess Twitter and, like, YouTube, so that's Google. But, like, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Facebook, I mean, those are 3 major powerhouses. I guess there's TikTok as well. TikTok's what's popular with the kids now. Sheesh. But I wonder what their arguments were. Like, I'm like, how bad did they argue?
Yeah, we need to get a transcript of that because it's probably really funny. It's like, what do you mean you don't, Facebook is not, you don't see it? How do you not?
They own 3 of, like, the 3 of 6 of the most popular. I mean.
It's like case dismissed against Thomas Edison because you failed to prove that he was an American inventor.
But it says right here in this history, but no, we don't accept that.
This is another sort of loss for Facebook. Teen sex trafficking victims from Houston land a major win against Facebook. So they were groomed on Facebook, and the victims said, "Hey, wait a minute, can we sue Facebook for not stopping this?" And the Houston Chronicle said, "Yep."
Huh.
So I have a feeling this will be overturned once it reaches the federal level. But in this court case, it's not really cut and dry. Like normally I would say that no, the messaging platform is not responsible for this, even as reprehensible as Facebook is. But there was some pretty damning stuff in the actual transcript of the case. So,
like, I guess so I didn't see the context of it, because I would think by default I would be like, I might actually side with Facebook in this instance, because I can't see how they would necessarily be responsible for that. But like, what did they?
Yeah, initially I was thinking the same thing, but it turns out that a lot of users had reported those users for like grooming type activities.
So they had reports on it. They chose not to action them. That makes sense. That'd be like if we had a lot of reports on someone and we didn't action it.
Or imagine like copyrighted material. It's like there's one report that this link is copyrighted, and it's like, kill it with fire and destroy it and whatever.
Yeah.
And that's so prevalent now that's like, when you've got an encounter with the police, they'll try to play copyrighted music so that it can't be shared online. Did
we have that as a story this week?
I don't think we did.
I saw that come up like last night on Reddit, and I was like, what? I thought for sure we'd include it. I forgot.
It's a boring dystopia.
Yeah.
Speaking of boring dystopias.
Taylor Swift. How do you think she feels about that?
TikTok insiders say social media company is tightly controlled by the Chinese parent ByteDance. So remember how we've had reports where it's like, no, they're totally separate entities. No, they're controlled separately. No, we're going to sell this as an American division. CNBC tries to take apart some of the claims and separate some of that stuff. This mostly comes from past employees, though. So I don't know. I wish there were more substantiation here than just the word of past employees. But we'll see.
I don't really get the appeal of TikTok, though I do enjoy it when other people repost like the good stuff.
It seems like a lot of TikToks are a lot of work, like a crazy amount of work. It's like, this lasted 60 seconds, but obviously took somebody like a week to put together.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it kind of reminds me of Vine. Like it's just Vine.
Or the sea shanty thing, the sea shanty TikTok, that was pretty entertaining.
Yeah,
where everybody was doing a different thing in the sea shanty, and it was pretty fun.
But yeah, I wouldn't install it personally, but.
Facebook keeps getting themselves in trouble over what they promote and what they don't promote and what they block and what they don't block. Well, themarkup.org is reporting that after repeatedly promising not to, Facebook keeps recommending political groups to users. Remember when they modified Facebook to say, is this a politically affiliated group? Yes. Okay, the algorithm is not going to promote that. You have to seek that out. We're just going to be a platform for that, but the algorithm is not going to promote that. Well, it turns out, no, it actually still does.
The issue is, like, how do they define political group?
Yeah.
Because, like, if the page is not categorizing itself as such, it would take a while for the algorithm probably to realize what it is.
Or somebody has to flag that internally.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can't really blame Facebook for that, because even if they're, like, constantly having people go through and look at the pages, there's just such a volume.
Yeah, I tend to agree with this one. On the other one, I was kind of initially on the side of Facebook, but then after looking into it, it's like, it's not good. This is just people behaving badly. I feel like they could probably do a little bit more work in terms of like having a couple of people searching these, because one of the groups that wasn't flagged was like Liberty Lovers for Ted Cruz, and it's like,
that seems pretty blatantly political.
Yeah,
it's got a politician's name in it.
There's like 3 or 4 red flags there. It's like, that's probably political, even though they haven't flagged
designated
it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, maybe they could do like a search, and it was like, here's all of these terms, like politicians' names. That would.
As we talk about our struggles with this kind of thing, it is interesting to see what other countries are doing. China and also Russia, because Reuters has this article. Putin has signed a law forcing foreign social media giants to open Russia offices. If you have more than 500,000 active users on a given day, you have to have a Russian office. I wonder if Linus is going to open up a Russian office.
Oh. How many do you think will play ball with this? Do you think they care about the Russian market that much?
Twitter, Google, Facebook, Microsoft, all those companies will absolutely do this.
Oh yeah, Microsoft, I can see. But like, I was wondering about like Facebook or Twitter.
Well, I was thinking initially it's like, YouTube and Google probably covers, Linus, but he's also got Floatplane, and it's probably approaching 500,000 daily engaged users, if not more. And so that would...
Will
that
you get a letter from the Russian government that's like, hello, comrade.
Dear President of Russia, we are not allowed to talk about Putin on float plane. Sincerely, American communist big dogs. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird because Ryan's not here, but it's fine.
I keep trying to adjust my glasses because I had them on this morning. I put my contacts in right before I came over here, and I'm like, but it's not. There's nothing there.
Yeah, welcome back to the office, by the way.
Yeah, weird. The hallway's blue, chat. You guys don't care about that, but it was like green for a long time, and now it's blue.
Green and yellow.
Yeah.
It's not fully painted yet.
It's mostly painted. There's a few spots, a little patchy.
But the long hallway's not painted at all.
Yeah.
Only the short hallway.
Only when I came. Did he do that recently?
The short hallway?
The blue hallway.
3 weeks ago.
Okay. Because I did have to come in for a client meeting like a month ago. And I was like, I came upstairs and I don't remember it being blue. I was like, did I just not pay attention? But if he just did it a few weeks ago, that's fine. Anyway.
What do we got tomorrow?
Is that it? That's the last story? I think we were saying social... Did we do robot? We're going to probably do robot, right?
Robot's Friday, probably.
Okay, with nonsense.
I think it's probably going to be business and security tomorrow.
Okay. Business and security.
And, yeah. So it'll be robot and nonsense on Friday. And more delicious treats from the fatherland.
Hooray! Thanks for watching, everybody.
I have to find the thing and stop it. Okay, thanks.
Oh, there it is.